This is World News Program coming to you live from Algiers with me, Mariam Zian. To the headlines. In a renewed violation of the ceasefire in Gaza, the Zionist occupation carried out another deadly attack in Khan Yunis, killing 5 Palestinians, including 2 children. Rights groups confirmed the deaths of 3 Palestinians from Gaza inside Israeli prisons. Meanwhile, Hamas condemned the occupation's crime in Khan Yunis, calling it a clear breach of the agreement and an attempt by the occupation to escape its obligations. Also coming up, a delegation representing the 15 member states of the UN Security Council affirmed the international community's solidarity with Syria during its first visit to Damascus on Thursday. This came at a time when the Zionist occupation forces renewed their incursion into several villages in the countryside of Qunaytira in southern Syria. And in Sudan, several civilians have been killed and others injured after shelling by the Rapid Support Forces who targeted civilian facilities in South Kordofan. The Sudanese army says it struck RSF positions in South Darfur in response, while the UN reports more than 260 civilians killed in Kordofan and warns of a sharp escalation in atrocities and violations. Hello and welcome back to your nightly news. First, 6 Palestinians were killed and others wounded last night, including children, in a Zionist airstrike targeting civilians in the Al-Mawasi area of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. Local Palestinian media sources reported that Zionist drones struck the tents of displaced families in Al-Mawasi, killing 6 Palestinians and injuring others. This came alongside heavy artillery shelling and intense gunfire inside the Yellow Line east of the city, as well as the demolition of buildings in the Tufah neighborhood of Gaza City.
The Israeli occupation targeted the tents of people, the tents of civilians. All of them were martyrs, children, an entire family erased from the civil registry. What was their crime? Are these the targets? Is this the Israeli bank of targets? A camp that was specially designated to protect Palestinians from any attack or security violations, all while we are supposedly in a truce, in a time of ceasefire.
The Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza announced on Thursday that hospitals in the Strip had received 8 martyrs and 16 wounded in the past 24 hours as the Zionist aggression continues. The ministry stated that since the ceasefire agreement took effect on October 11 of last year, the death toll has risen to 366 martyrs and 938 wounded, in addition to 619 bodies recovered from under the rubble. And 3 detainees from the Gaza Strip were martyred in the prisons and camps of the Zionist occupation, their ages ranging between 35 and 60. The Commission of Detainees and Ex-Detainees Affairs of the Palestinians and the Palestinian Prisoners Club said in a joint statement on Thursday that the number of Palestinian detainees who have died in Zionist prisons has risen to nearly 100 since October 7, 2023. The identities of 84 of them have been confirmed officially by the concerned Palestinian institutions, including 50 detainees from the Gaza Strip. The Islamic resistance movement Hamas said that what occurred in Al-Mawasi Khan Yunis constitutes a premeditated war crime and a blatant disregard for the ceasefire agreement. In its statement on Thursday, the movement called on mediators and guarantor states to curb the occupation's crimes and prevent Netanyahu and his extremist government from breaching the agreement. Chief among them, the halt of attacks on civilians, residential areas, and displaced persons tents. Hamas held the Zionist occupation fully responsible for the consequences of this escalation. Hamas also stated on Thursday that an American investigative report exposing the Zionist entity's bulldozing of Palestinian martyrs' bodies near the Zakim crossing north of Gaza is further proof of the occupation's deliberate use of humanitarian aid routes as mass death traps. The movement said that CNN's findings showing bodies being bulldozed and others left exposed constitute war crimes, adding that these atrocities were not isolated incidents, but systematic documented killings committed by the occupation before the eyes of the world.
What was revealed by the investigation of the American channel CNN regarding the criminal Zionist occupation bulldozing the bodies of those it killed from among our Palestinian people who were seeking aid and leaving the bodies of dozens of martyrs exposed after killing them and preventing their retrieval constitutes additional evidence of the occupation's deliberate transformation of aid into mass death traps. What the criminal Zionist occupation has committed of atrocities against our people are not isolated incidents, but war crimes and systematic assaults carried out before the eyes of the world. We call on the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, and all competent national courts to pursue this heinous crime and include it in reports documenting the crimes of the occupation, leading to holding the occupation's leaders accountable for their crimes against our Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip.
In the same context, Hamas reaffirmed its commitment to fully resolving the prisoner exchange file, urging increased pressure on the occupation to stop its violations and reopen the Rafah border crossing in both directions. Hamas spokesperson Hazem Qasem said on Thursday that the Zionist occupation continues to commit massacres against Palestinians in the Strip, while the movement remains committed to the ceasefire agreement. And the delegation representing the 15 member states of the UN Security Council affirmed the international community's solidarity with Syria during its first visit to Damascus on Thursday. In a press statement from Damascus following their meeting with Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara, Slovenia's ambassador to the UN, Samuel, whose country holds the Council presidency this month, said the delegation sought through its visit to demonstrate the international community's solidarity and support for Syria.
We aim to achieve this mission was above all demonstration of the international community's solidarity and support for Syria. I think we reiterated our clear support for sovereignty, unity, independence and territorial integrity of Syria. And our united message was simple and clear. We recognize your country's aspirations and challenges, and the path to a better future of new Syria will be Syria-led and Syria-owned.
And Zionist occupation forces renewed their incursion on Thursday into several villages in the countrysides of Qunayt in southern Syria. According to Syrian local media, Zionist forces advanced into the town of Bir Ajam and its surrounding villages, western Zbeida and eastern Zbeida, reaching as far as the village of Ruwahina in the central Qunayt countryside. And from Syria, we move to Sudan, where civilians were killed and others wounded following shelling by the Rapid Support Forces, targeting civilian facilities in South Kordofan state. The Sudanese Doctors Network said in a statement on Thursday that 9 people were killed, including 4 children and 2 women, and 7 others were injured. It said the attack was deliberate, carried out with suicide drones by the RSF and its affiliated Sudan People's Movement at Hilu faction, targeting kindergarten and several civilian facilities in the city of Kalougi in South Kordofan. The Sudanese army announced that its forces had successfully struck positions where the Rapid Support Forces were stationed in the city of Nyala in South Darfur. Sudanese army sources told Algeria International 24 News on Thursday that the Air Force managed to destroy an FB-10A air defense system held by the RSF around Nyala in South Darfur. They added that the operation also included destroying training centers and ammunition depots in the area. The United Nations warned of a surge in atrocities and abuses committed by the Rapid Support Forces against civilians across Kordofan, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk said their offices had documented the killing of 269 civilians in airstrikes, shelling and executions carried out by the Rapid Support Forces in Kordofan.
When the Rapid Support Forces took control of the city of Bara in North Kordofan, our offices documented the killing of at least 269 civilians as a result of airstrikes, artillery, shelling, and summary executions. It is likely that the actual number of civilian casualties is much higher. It is truly shocking to see history repeating itself. In Kordofan, so soon after the horrific events in Al-Fashir, have we learned nothing from the lessons of the past? We cannot stand by and allow more Sudanese people to become victims of horrific human rights violations. We must act, and this war must end now.
And turning now to the Sahrawi file, the Polisario Front clarified that it has not received any official invitation to resume negotiations with Morocco, stressing that the solution is up to the UN. Sidi Mohamed Ammar, the Polisario Front's representative to the UN and coordinator with MINURSO, noted that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will continue his contacts with both parties in the near future with the aim of launching unconditional negotiations.
The Polisario Front has not received any official invitation to resume negotiations with Morocco. The solution remains in the hands of the United Nations, as stipulated by its charter, since it is the only body exclusively mandated to oversee the peace process. During the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres meeting with the Sahrawi President and Secretary-General of the Polisario Front, Brahim Ghali, on the sidelines of the recent African Union-European Union Summit in Angola, he affirmed that the UN Secretary-General's personal envoy for Western Sahara, Staffan de Mistura, will continue his contact with both parties as soon as possible, with the aim of launching negotiations without preconditions and strictly within the UN framework defined by its charter. The latest Security Council Resolution 2797/2025 renewed its strong support for the Secretary-General and his personal envoy's efforts and reaffirmed the need to advance the political process toward genuine negotiations that guarantee human rights in the Sahrawi territories and uphold the inalienable right to self-determination and independence.
And the Sahrawi Association of Human Rights Defenders, CODESA, revealed the dire human rights situation of Sahrawi political prisoners in Moroccan occupation prisons, including the restrictive and punitive measures they face, ranging from torture to retaliation and systematic abuse. Ali Salem Tamek, president of CODESA, told Al24 News that Moroccan occupation authorities are conducting widespread arrest campaigns targeting Sahrawi political detainees, adding that these practices violate all international laws.
Arrest campaigns are ongoing and systemic, carried out on a wide scale, affecting all groups, including children. Some arrests are for the short term, while others are long term, as is the case with the prisoners currently held in various prisons. As you mentioned, their suffering is not limited to them alone, but extends to their families as a form of punishment for their stance advocating independence and self-determination.
And Spanish newspapers reported that Morocco is seeking through deceptive policies to gain control over the airspace above Western Sahara. Atlantico Hoy and Canarias 7 affirmed that any cooperation with Morocco in exploiting Western Sahara's resources constitutes a major strategic mistake, noting that such measures reinforce the unlawful plunder of Sahrawi wealth and expose the Canary Islands to serious risks.
Engaging with the Moroccan occupation authorities sends a clear message that human rights violations and breaches of international law are an acceptable price in exchange for contracts and strategic alliances. Spain, as the territory's former administrating power, according to the United Nations, bears an undeniable responsibility to ensure the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination.
South Africa's Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Alvin Boot, said the That said that he discussed with Algeria's Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, the need to continue supporting the struggle of the Sahrawi people in the Polisario Front to enable the Sahrawis to exercise their right to self-determination and independence. This came in a statement he made after being received by Minister Attaf at the Foreign Ministry headquarters in Algiers, where the two sides held bilateral talks covering several bilateral, regional, and international issues.
Today concluded a working visit to Algeria. The working visit prioritized the Oran process. We participated in the 12th high-level dialogue on peace and security, which seeks to ensure there's better coordination between the A3+, those 3 African states that will in 2026 serve at the UN Security Council, and to ensure that we manage coordination with the Peace and Security Council, the PSC of the African Union. So that was the first responsibility. The second responsibility was the engagement on the international conference on colonialism, where we look at the codifications of crimes of colonial orientations. We look also at the new AU mechanism on reparations and the expert panels that has been established. And lastly, we look at the memorialization, the heritage of the colonialism as a crime, and how to ensure there is what we call transnational unity, including with CARICOM, with the 6th region of the African Union, the African diaspora.
The Algerian Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, received South Africa's Deputy Minister Alwyn Bose, who represented his country at the 12th high-level seminar on peace and security in Africa, the Iran process. A statement from the Algerian Foreign Ministry explained that both sides expressed satisfaction with the growing pace of cooperation between the two countries, particularly in the context of implementing the outcomes of the most recent session of the Joint High Commissions co-chaired in Algiers by President Abdelmajid Tebboune and South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa. And in a separate statement, Deputy Minister Alwyn Bose said that his visit to Algeria focused primarily on the Iran process. He noted that main objective during the 12th high-level seminar on peace and security in Africa held in Algeria was to ensure continuous coordination between the African Union Peace and Security Council and the UN Security Council.
Where we, at the detail level, had collaborative discussions on the work done through the 7th Binational Commission, the BNC, which was presided over by the head of state of Algeria and that of South Africa. We look and took stock of the 5 new areas of collaboration as underpinned by the 5 memorandum of understandings, especially as it relates to exchanges of research capacity. That includes agricultural research work, the work that ought to be done with our space agencies. And then we evidently spoke about the need to ensure the establishment of the joint Algeria-South Africa Business Council that must take forward the issues about trade and foreign direct investment in these 2 countries.
And so the South African diplomat noted that the visit provided an opportunity to discuss ways to advance cooperation with Algeria toward broader horizons.
My meeting with the foreign minister concluded today, where we received a briefing on the UN Security Council resolution as it relates to self-determination of the people of Western Sahara, and how do we take forward in a meaningful way in 2026 the struggles of the Polisario.
And Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko concluded on Wednesday a two-day official visit to Algeria. He was seen off at Algiers Houari Boumediene International Airport by the President of the Council of the Nation, Azzouz Nasri. The visit was crowned with the signing of a joint declaration by Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune and his Belarusian counterpart to strengthen partnership and friendship between the two countries. The two leaders also supervised the signing of several agreements and memoranda of understanding covering various fields of cooperation. And the UN support mission in Libya discussed with Libya's government of national unity the implementation of the roadmap, including the launch of structured dialogue and other issues. This came during a meeting on Wednesday between the UN Secretary-General's Special Representative, Hana Tete, and the head of the Government of National Unity, Abdul Hamid Dbeiba. A statement from the mission posted on its Facebook page said that Tete considered the recently signed Unified Development Program agreement between the Libyan House of Representatives and the High Council of State an important initial step toward effective public finance management and the establishment of a unified budget. U.S. President Donald Trump is hosting his Congolese and Rwandan counterparts in Washington on Thursday to approve a peace agreement aimed at ending the violence in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, which has suffered from 3 decades of armed conflict. Tina Salama, spokesperson for the Congolese presidency, said Wednesday that the agreement includes several components covering peace, a framework for regional economic integration, and a strategic partnership with the United States to exploit the DRC's abundant mineral resources. She added that it also contains provisions on disengagement, disarmament, and conditional integration of non-state armed groups on an individual basis. And Kinshasa and Kigali take a major step toward ending years of conflict today as their leaders meet in Washington to sign a long-awaited peace deal. Hossein Barkan has more.
In Washington, Congolese and Rwanda leaders are set to ratify a peace agreement today, described as an important step for the Great Lakes region. The signing, which will bring together Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi and his Rwandan counterpart, Paul Kagame, under the sponsorship of the United States, stands in stark contrast to the security situation on the ground, which remains tense. In the south of Kivu province, violent clashes have continued in recent hours between the armed group M23 and the Congolese army, supported by local militias. According to multiple sources, M23 continues to make advances despite commitment made in the preliminary agreement reached last June. In recent weeks, fighting has intensified in the eastern part of the country, particularly after the strategic capture of Goma and Bukavu. Successive ceasefires have been violated, worsening the humanitarian crisis and causing new population displacements. The agreement signed today by Felix Tshisekedi and Paul Kagame includes several components: the gradual disengagement of armed groups, disarmament, conditional integration of former combatants, as well as strengthened cooperation with the United States regarding strategic minerals. On this point, the Congolese presidency has rejected any criticism suggesting a peace for minerals exchange, while affirming that the country's sovereignty remains fully intact.
Ce n'est pas la vente des minerais aux Américains.
This is not about selling minerals to the Americans. We want to make that clear. Sovereignty over the resources remains entirely Congolese. It is not peace in exchange for minerals as has been claimed. The goal is to secure the minerals to prevent war financing. This is not a protectorate being imposed. The mechanisms are joint, balanced, and legally regulated. And finally, it is not a division of territories or national parks. The Virangas, for example, remain fully Congolese without conditions or exceptions.
It remains to be seen whether this signing can pave the way for a real and lasting de-escalation in eastern DRC.
Russian President Vladimir Putin confirmed that the U.S. proposals for a settlement in Ukraine included issues that Moscow did not approve and which were discussed. He said in a press briefing that the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump has undertaken a complex mission involving the settlement of the Ukrainian conflict, stressing that seeking a solution is an extremely difficult task. Putin revealed that the American side divided Trump's plan into 4 packages containing 27 points and proposed discussing them separately. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday evening that the meeting between the 2 U.S. envoys and Russian President Vladimir Putin was somewhat good, while noting that it's still unclear what the final outcome will be. Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, Trump said Russia is eager to reach an agreement to end the war in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that his team is currently preparing for a meeting in the U.S. following the return of the U.S. negotiating team from Russia and the completion of its consultations in Washington. In his nightly video address on Wednesday, Zelensky said Ukraine expects to announce updates in the coming days regarding these meetings, communications, and discussions, whether held in person or by phone. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andrei Sybiha said Ukraine wants real peace and not appeasement of Russia. Speaking before the OSCE on Thursday, Sybiha said everyone still remembers the names of those betrayed or those who betrayed future generations in Munich, stressing the need to prevent such repetition and avoid compromising fundamental principles. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said Thursday that he held a friendly and respectful phone call 10 days ago with U.S. President Donald Trump amid increased U.S. military activity in Latin America. Maduro said in an interview with state television that the call could open the door to direct dialogue between the two countries, affirming Venezuela's readiness for diplomatic engagement and stressing that his government always seeks to preserve peace. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for tonight's program. Thanks for watching and have a great night.